So a couple weeks ago, I was at school and my teacher wasn't there. So she said to go into another classroom. So I went into the classroom and I was like, okay, we're gonna go on the computer, we're gonna do some work. But then I go there and I see the worst thing ever. An Apple Magic Mouse. And it was awful. Matter of fact, if I didn't have that Apple Magic Mouse, I probably would have taken like half the amount of time it took me to do the assignment, because that Magic Mouse, oh gosh, it's awful. So I've always had a really bad relationship with the Apple Magic Mouse. Whenever I see somebody using it, I just want to buy them a new mouse. It's just painful to see people use them, because like, have you seen how flat that is? We're gonna get into why it's awful, but first we're gonna get into the many pros with the Apple Magic Mouse. So it works. Actually, it doesn't sometimes. Okay, so now let's get into the cons, and I have a lot, because this you've seen the title. It's the worst thing ever. It's not really, but it makes a cool title. So first of all, let's just go down to design. Now, Apple has never been good at making good mouses. When it comes to mouses, for some reason, Apple sees a mouse and they think, how do we make this the most uncomfortable mouse ever? Even though comfort is like the #1 thing that people look for when you make a mouse. Because of course, when you see a mouse, it works. Everyone knows it works. Hopefully it works. So whenever you buy a mouse, you're either looking at for either A, the features, does it have like cool, like, you know, buttons on it that you can customize, or either B, the ergonomics, is it comfortable, you know, all that stuff. So Apple sees this and they think, you know, we're Apple. People will buy whatever we make, so let's just make it the worst mouse we can possibly make and charge the highest price we could possibly charge. So in this picture, we can see the history of all of Apple's mouses except the Magic Mouse. It's not included in there, which makes the picture a lot better. But still not that great. So first we start off with this old mouse. Now, of course it looks ugly because everything from there looks weird green, whatever color that is. I don't know. Did anyone really like that color back then, or did they just have to make that color? Like, did people like make PCs and stuff and like, oh, that's the best color to make our PCs? But first of all, we're already starting on a bad start. Like that mouse looks like what mouses would look like if they were in Minecraft. That is the most boxy and biggish mouse I've ever seen. Like that, this is like the opposite of the Magic Mouse. It is just too tall, so you can't, it must be awful to carry. But then the next one was an improvement. This is probably the most comfortable mouse Apple has ever made, and that's not saying much, but you know, you can hold it and it won't hurt. Kind of. It still looks a bit Minecrafty, but it looks okay. It looks more Robloxy than Minecrafty. So, you know, we're improving. But then Apple just went to this thing, which I don't know why. Did they think like circular mouses were like the future? Because that looks awful. That looks absolutely disgusting. Imagine that looks horrible. Holding that thing would be a horror. Like your hand will hurt. Also, how long did that ugly color last? Did every single computer manufacturer use that color? Because it looks awful. Next, we have a literal circle. I don't know what they think when they make these mouses. Do they think, oh, this is gonna be so futuristic, it's gonna be so uncomfortable, people in the future are so uncomfortable, ha 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 ha. Because this is probably the worst mouse they've ever made, like comfortable wise. Because like, how do you even hold that or hit this? Like, nothing about this mouse makes sense. It's hardly a mouse. How do you even like click on that? Do you have to like put your hands like all the way back here and then click it? But then they move on to a literal alien mouse. I don't, who thought that was a good idea? I don't know. And then we finally get to the Apple Magic Mouse. Yikes. So it is the flattest mouse I have ever seen. So usually with mouses, you have a little place to, you know, rest your hand on, because you know you need a little place to rest your hand on. You know, you don't want your hand to just be like hanging and stuff, but that's what Apple wants. Apple wants your hand to be like curved and this. As you see, this mouse does not have any, you know, scrolly thingy, because you do that all digitally. And you know, that sounds really cool, you know, futuristic, you know, it sounds very futuristic, you know, you can scroll digitally. But digitally can be very unreliable. I ran into a bunch of problems, even though I was only using the mouse for like about an hour. I ran into a bunch of problems where it would just suddenly be like, no, I don't want to scroll right now, or suddenly be like, I want to scroll a lot right now, and it was awful. Also, let's talk about right click and left click. Right click, now they have this feature, but it is always turned off, which makes absolutely no sense. Does anyone not use right click? Does anyone not use right click? Because they could easily just enable it automatically in software, but no, instead you have to manually go on every single Mac you go on and go on, oh, I need to turn on this right click, because they never turn it on. And it's like, do the people making these mouses actually have they actually ever used a mouse? Because these mouses are horrible. Out of all of the things, right click? Does anyone not use right click? Do they really think in the future it's just one click? No, that's not the future, that's the past. I feel like they're trying to make a mouse of the future, but in the end it just seems like a mouse from the past trying to be a mouse of the future. It's like a mouse made in like 1967 trying to be like, oh, this is what mouses will be like in 2020. They'll be so alien and stuff. And also don't forget the charging thing. They put the charging port on like the back, and they know why they did this. So since the charging port on the back, which is really the worst place to put it, you can't charge it while using it. So when your mouse is dead, you're just not working. You just have to I guess buy another mouse, which is awful, because you could easily put it right in there like every other PC, like every other mouse maker does. But they know that they want to make their customers frustrated, which leads me to believe that maybe they're doing some of this stuff so they can just get like headlines and stuff, because every generation it gets worse. So maybe they're gonna like, do you just really want to get like do you really want people to talk about them? And I guess, you know, if people talk about the new Apple mouse, you'll be like, oh, that's promotion. So maybe they're just purposely making awful mouses so they can get promoted, because every mouse generation they seem to try to make it the worst mouse they can possibly make. And it leads me to believe, like, what will happen like 5 years from now? Will their mouses be like even worse? Anyways, that's it for today's video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, all that cool stuff. I'll be every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. I'll be live streaming. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.